Hello and welcome to Pros Before Joes. This episode will be focusing on the Demolition perk, or the demo for short, for a killing floor. I will make a note before we start. I am not going to include the new weapon DLC, the Orca grenade launcher. I will be doing a separate video on those 4 weapons because I want to go in a little bit more depth. But as normal, we will be focusing on the stats of the demo, the weapons loadout, and some general hints and tips. So without further ado, let's get this started. Starting off with the stats for the demo, for all levels they get a bonus to damage and resistance for explosives. They get an explosive weapon discount, a pipe bomb discount, and then starting at level 1 they get increased to grenade capacity, and they start going up with pipe bomb capacity by 1 per level. Starting at level 5 they spawn with pipe bombs, and then at level 6 they will spawn with the M79 grenade launcher alongside pipe bombs. We'll start off with the M79 grenade launcher for the weapons loadout. As with all demo weapons, this is good at crowd control. On a single shot basis, it does the same amount of damage as the M32 and M4203. However, it is only a single shot grenade launcher and has a lower ammo reserve compared to the M32, and it lacks the close range option of the M4203. It is the cheapest out of all the demo weapons, and coupled with the fact that it's a very light weapon, it makes it possible to use off perk for a high explosive and damaging weapon, should you desire to get it. Next up is the M32 grenade launcher. The M32 is basically an upgraded version of the M79. This weapon features a cylinder of 6 grenades, a higher possible rate of fire, and also has a larger ammo reserve compared to the M79. As with the M79, it also lacks the close range option of the M4203. The downside of this weapon is it takes a very long time to reload from empty. That being said, however, it does have an interruptible reload, so if you're not firing the weapon, you should be reloading it. The weapon is also fairly expensive, so it's not very practical to buy off perk. Next weapon is the M4203. This basically is a M4 assault rifle with an attached M203 grenade launcher. This weapon gives the Demolitions a way to combat lesser to mid specimens at close range, but at the cost of explosive damage potential. The grenade launcher part operates much in the same way as the M79, with half of the ammo pool available. The M4 portion of this weapon does the same damage as the regular M4, however it has a very heavy recoil and a very high rate of fire, which makes it difficult to fire accurately outside of short bursts. It also does not have the option to switch to semi-auto, and it comes with iron sights instead of the red dot sight of the Commando's M4. It is also the most expensive weapon of the demo perk. The next weapon is the light anti-tank weapon, or the Law. The Law is a very powerful and heavy rocket launcher. This weapon offers massive damage and a large splash radius. On a per shot basis, this is the highest damaging weapon aside from pipe bombs that the demo can get. It is able to kill most specimens in 1 to 3 shots depending on difficulty and number of players. The main downside of this weapon is its weight. It is tied with the M99 for the heaviest weapon in the game, and as a result you will only be able to carry either a machete or pipe bombs alongside it. It is also a single shot weapon and takes a long time to reload between shots, and it also cannot be hip fired as you have to aim down the sights in order to fire it. The final weapon, and maybe the most important weapon of the demo's arsenal, is the pipe bomb. The pipe bomb is a high explosive charge fitted with a proximity detector that you can plant. If a certain specimen or groups of specimens step over it, it explodes, dealing massive damage to all caught in the blast radius. They are exceptionally useful in creating a perimeter or setting up as traps. It helps your team by removing large specimens or a large group of smaller specimens. The groups of specimens that set off a pipe bomb are a group of 4 or more clots, stalkers, or crawlers. a group of 2 or more Gorefast, and 1 Husk, Siren, Bloat, Scrake, Fleshpound, or the Patty. A group of intermixed specimens, such as 1 Gorefast and 3 Clots, will also set them off. It is important to note that pipe bombs can be detonated prematurely by Husk shots or the Patriarch's rocket, and they can also be disabled by the Siren Scream. They are immune to your own explosives, however. Another trick to note is that you can manually detonate your own pipe bombs by shooting them with a non-explosive weapon such as your pistol, and this can be useful at times, especially against a charging Scrake or Fleshpound, where they would run too fast for the automatic detonation to do much damage to them. It's also important to note that multiple pipe bombs can be stacked in a certain area, but they will not explode in conjunction with each other unless an external explosive detonates it. In most instances, it is better to place 1 or 2 pipe bombs at the start of the wave and then replace them instead of planting all of them at the start. Pipe bombs may be one of the most useful weapons in the demo's arsenal, so make sure you get good at placing them. The only way to really do this, however, is through experience and understanding the map layouts. But if you are new to the game, feel free to ask the veteran players that you may be playing with, and hopefully they will give you the advice you need in the pipe bomb placement. My preferred loadout is the M32 grenade launcher and the M4203. I usually use the M4 for any close range enemies I might have to encounter. I also carry pipe bombs with me. This is a very expensive loadout though, so it's probably not recommended for the lower perks, because you just don't have the discount to effectively purchase them. As a demo, you'll mostly be focusing on crowd control. Demos are also excellent for taking out Fleshpounds because of the Fleshpound vulnerability to explosives. The demo is arguably the most expensive class to maintain, so make sure you effectively use your explosives against large groups of enemies. If you're on a team with a demo and you have spare money, it's recommended that you give them to the demo teammate. It's important to note that you do not need to hit a specimen to detonate your explosive shots. For instance, you can fire at the ground in the center of a group of enemies for the best effect. As a demo, 2 enemies you need to watch out for are the Sirens and the Husks. Sirens will be able to disable your explosives with their scream and even have a chance to do it while the projectiles are in midair, and the Husk shot is able to detonate your explosives even in midair as well. One thing you need to be careful of is self-damage from explosives. All of your launchers have a minimum distance in order to detonate. They cause blunt damage instead of exploding when this happens. That being said, they still can damage you, so be mindful of this when firing at close range. As a result, it's recommended to carry a weapon useful for dealing with enemies that are close. The Lars, pistols, or M4203 are good weapons for this. Be mindful of the smoke caused by your explosives and try not to fire too many explosives unless you have to, because the smoke will heavily obscure the vision of your teammates. The final thing I want to mention that is a useful tactic called grenade stacking. This is where you throw your grenades near an enemy and then detonate them with your grenade launcher. This is very useful for dealing a high amount of damage quickly and is especially useful for taking out the Fleshpound. That'll wrap up this episode then. I hope that you found the hints and tips useful. There is only one more perk left. I feel that I have saved the best for last, which is the Berserker perk. After that, there will be a video on the Community Weapons Pack 2, and then there will be the Specimen Elimination videos right after that. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys on the next Pros Before Joes.